I'm going to talk about religious freedom generally from a Virginia and a USA perspective, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention former Congressman Frank Wolf, who served with me just a little bit of time, but I've known Frank for many, many years, who was a big advocate of religious freedom around the world for all religions, and a great guy. But Frank wasn't the first to do that. As you may know, it is a part of our traditions in the United States to have religious freedom. Not that we're always perfect, but we certainly strive to go in that direction. Many of the early colonists in North America came here in order to be able to worship in a way that they wanted to. In Virginia, you were taxed whether you were a member of the Church of England or its Episcopal descendant. You were taxed whether you were a member of that church or not to help support the church. Thomas Jefferson took that up as an affront and passed the Declaration of Virginia Declaration of Rights, including religious freedom, and the Statute of Religious Freedom was the first that was passed across the board anywhere in the world, and we're very, very proud of that, and it still stands. In those years, I was in the Virginia House of Delegates where I was the majority leader. It's still written in marble on the wall for all of us to see, because it's important to us. And you look back on it and you think, well, was that such a big deal? Well, our previous speaker mentioned the Nazis and what they did as far as full citizenship. That actually existed. They had reformed it some, but when Prussia, at the time of 1776, when Virginia was passing its Declaration of Religious Liberty, if you were Jewish and you were living in Prussia, which was the state that brought the other Germanic states together to form Germany in the 1800s, you were not a full citizen. You were only a partial citizen. So it's important to recognize that we need to continue to strive in those directions, both here in the United States, but also around the world. Many people don't realize why Thomas Jefferson was so interested in this issue. And many people at the time called him a heretic. It was a part of his political campaign. Most people didn't realize that while he lived in a Christian society and followed the teachings of Jesus Christ, Thomas Jefferson in his Jefferson Bible, which was printed after his death, made it very clear that the Bible he read every day, the New Testament he read every day, had been altered, and it ended with, and they rolled a stone in front of the tomb. He did not believe in the resurrection, which many Christians today would say that means he's not a Christian. But he believed that everybody should be able to worship in the manner that they thought was appropriate. He defended it, and his words in his famous letter to the Danbury, Connecticut Baptists is now incorporated as a part of our stare decisis, a part of our legal traditions. He was talking to the Danbury, Connecticut Baptists because most of the folks there in Connecticut were Congregationalists at the time, and the Baptists were afraid they were going to be punished, treated as lesser citizens if they were not, if they didn't comply with those regulations. And so he wrote, believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only and not opinions. I contemplate with sovereign reverence the act of the whole American people, which declared that their legislature should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. That language doesn't actually appear in the Constitution. It appears in this letter, which was later picked up by the Supreme Court. And he goes on to talk about that, but the whole letter is only a couple paragraphs long. I will point out, and sometimes this creates tension, people sometimes think if you have freedom of religion, that means that you're not allowed to do any religious activities in public. That's not the case. I am a Christian. I respect everybody else's right to pray the way they wish. I also hope people will respect my right. But I always note with interest, this letter was written January 1st, 1802, Thomas Jefferson. It's the same letter that the church and state language comes from. He ends it with, I reciprocate your kind prayers for the protection and blessing of the common Father and Creator of man, and tender for yourselves and your religious association assurances of my high respect and esteem. The bottom line is he wanted everybody's religious beliefs to be respected. He wanted everybody to be treated as an equal citizen, but he also recognized that people, in order to have that, have to be free to publicly be able to express that I'm a Christian, you're a Buddhist, you're a Muslim. You can say that publicly and not have to worry about it creating negative repercussions for you, either by taxing or by violence or any other matter. So I'm excited to have been included. I realize other people are going to have important things to say about today, but knowing where this movement has come from and that it really, the concept that you should have religious freedom is really only a couple of 100 years old, and that we need to defend it, is one that I'm glad that you all are talking about, and appreciate being included, and proud as a Virginian that we like to claim, although the fire was starting in other places as well, but we got there first, and we're very proud of that, and it's a heritage that I'm proud to have been a part of.